In this video, I'm going to show you how to do some joints and motion and rigid groups and everything found in this assemble menu here in Fusion, where we start to put components together and make things move the way that we want them to. So I have one example here that's already built. I'm going to make this move right now by finding that joint over here and right-click, animate model. We can see it kind of move back and forth and the gears spin and stuff like that. I've got a copy of all those parts just by doing a move copy. When you move copy, you do not copy joints. You copy only components and bodies and things. So it's nice because you can have a blank slate to start from without any of this motion linking applied. Alright, first thing I'm going to do is attach this gear because I left out one of the gears on purpose to show you how to attach it here. Now you might think I want the gear to spin on this shaft, but I actually want it to be solid to this shaft so that the shaft spins with the two gears connected to each other. So I'm going to go to Assemble, Joint, Shortcut J, go over and grab this gear here, click on the circle or the cylinder in this case, and then attach the cylinder to the axle with the gears on it right here. And I'm going to click a point to put it on. And you can see it's on the wrong side over there, but I'm just going to go in and get a good view and grab my arrows and pull it over to the spot that I want it. Don't make a, I'm not going to make a rigid for this, or a revolute. I'm going to make a rigid because I want them to be connected to each other in this case. So I'm going to do that. I actually want this and this and this all connected to each other. So I'm going to create a rigid group between this piece, and this piece so they all spin at the same time. So I'm going to go to Assemble, Rigid Group, and I'm going to choose the components that are part of my rigid group. 1, 2, and 3. So those are all a rigid group now. Now I want to make those things spin in this hole right here. So I'm just going to do a joint between my axle and my side piece. So Assemble, and this is called an as-built joint because it's already in the exactly correct position. So I'm going to do an as-built joint between the two components. I'm going to do a revolute spinning joint between this component and this component. And I want to choose a snap point of this rotation point right there to make that spin. Now right now you can't see your gears spinning because I'm only looking at the joint between that piece and this piece, but when you click OK and go back and animate the model using that revolute, it's going to take into account your rigid group you've already made, and it's going to spin that whole thing together. We can do that again with as-built joints and regular joints, and it just takes a lot of practice to get all those things to work correctly. But I'm going to show the last thing is to make this into, I need a couple more rigid groups first. So I'm going to assemble rigid group between this, this, and this to make that whole wheel and axle assembly move together. And I'm also going to do assemble rigid group between the back axle, that one, that one, that one, and I'm going to make a revolute joint or as-built joint between this and this with a snap point on the rotation axis right here, and another assemble as-built joint between here and here with a rotation point or a snap point around the middle. Okay. Now I'm going to make these make this whole thing slide down the track while it moves. Assemble assemble joints between this component here along its axis here, and this component here along its axis, and I'm going to choose a snap point here. Cancel. Darn, I messed that one up. I want to do an as-built joint there. I forgot. So I'm going to go to assemble as-built joint between this thing and this thing because they're already in the right orientation even though I want them to move, and I'm going to snap along this line. My motion type here is going to be a slider. Alright, this is tricky. Let's see if I got it to work. Not quite. I'm going to do that. I think, oh yeah, snap points for as-built joints like this one need to go from a face like this, I believe. There it goes. So, very confusing about what place to select there, but that face is perpendicular to the motion, and so that makes it work there. So I'm going to make that go like that, and then, of course, that part's not going to move with everything else until I animate the model using slider 1, slider 20. And now the whole thing moves together. Looks like I missed a piece over there. I'm going to reattach that by doing a rigid group there. Assemble rigid group between this and this. Now can I go back and fix that? Now that moves together. And the gears aren't spinning when the track moves, and the track's not going far enough. So that shows me two more things. In slider 2, I need to change my joint limits with that little button right there. Minimum and maximum, I'm going to go maximum of 20 or so. Maybe 20, yeah, something like that. That goes a little farther down the track. And then I also want to create a motion link, assemble motion link between this joint. You check motion links go between joints between slider 2 and this revolute here to spin the gears. And you could change your direction and your numbers to get to the point where it spins and the teeth actually mesh inside of there in the rat gear like that, but I'm not going to do that right now. Alright, the last thing I want to show you is a contact set. And I'm going to show a little example of this, just the simplest one I can, by creating a little block that's going to be in the way of this thing. So I'm going to make a little block right here and go minus 0.5. Okay, that is going to show up in bodies, which is right here. And that one we're going to call our block. And that we're going to make a create components from bodies. And now I'm going to make a contact set. So first I have to go to assemble and contact sets, enable contact sets. And then under contact sets, which is a new category here, I'm going to right click on it and say new contact set. What this allows you to do is say if something runs into something else in Fusion, it actually moves the other thing instead of going through it. So if I want to make a contact set between here and here, then I'm going to say OK. And now when I animate this model, it's going to push that block down the track once it runs into it. That can be useful for cams and all sorts of things to show motion when you're expecting two things to run into each other and create motion. All right, that's it.